Everyone, Sayer G here, and I wanted to announce that for a short time only, my book Regenerate, which was released earlier this year, is going to be on sale as an electronic download for $1.99. That's actually 20, was it $6 off the hardcover price. And also, the thing is if you don't have a Kindle device, you can download it as a Kindle, and then you can read it on a web browser. So this enables pretty much anyone to afford to have access to this book, which I put my life's blood and work and sweat and tears into. So this book represents a vision for what is possible in terms of us understanding our body's innate healing capacity, as well as all the accumulated research that shows that despite what we're being told throughout the world right now, that the body is weak and susceptible to disease, and that we need to do all these really counterintuitive things like stay in our homes and wear masks and get ready for the vaccine in order to be healthy, runs diametrically opposed to the new biology, which is actually the already existing ancient wisdom that is only now starting to be validated by science. So I want to do a quick video here because, it helps to put context to this book and what I'm trying to communicate. And it's actually a colleague of mine, Dr. Melissa Sells, who put out this great quote, which I think really does best embody what we're all facing right now. Okay, convincing people to fear their own bodies is an especially insidious form of terrorism. Now, that phrase would have been hyperbole, I think, before COVID-19, but because COVID-19 is an expression of what I like to sometimes call the transmogrification of the endless war on terror into a new narrative framework, which is, of course, the endless war against the invisible enemy, the germs in your body. Now we're seeing that there's this basic intention to make people believe that fear is how they should navigate their life. Fear being the dominant emotion or reality that they need to now navigate around. It's not about having faith and trust in your body. It's not about connecting to your religious practice, congregating with your community at a church. It's not about hugging people. In fact, now we're being told that just being within a few feet of each other could be deadly to their health and our own. And not covering your face and suppressing your oxygen levels could be deadly to yourself or others. So everything is backwards. So now what we're seeing in this quote is a really brilliant expression of what I think is going on, which is that this is the truth, is that they want people to think that fearing their own bodies is the right way to orient towards life. And it's not new. It's been around a while. It's just come to a head at this moment in time. If I can convince you that your body is incapable, weak, stupid, broken, faulty, and susceptible, and that I have the cure, you are mine. I own you. And my colleague Sachin Patel put out a quote recently that further illustrates this, which is that if you can control someone's emotions and their breathing, right? It could be through fear. You control every cell in their body. So think about that. Just through controlling somebody's breath through emotions, okay? It could be triggering people in the media, making them feel afraid of this, lethal threat from China, the China virus. Everyone's cells are being sent the message it's not safe. You have to activate ancient survival programs limbically, right? Fight or flight or freeze. These are ancient patterns. So her statement, I own you, is really true. And of course, my wife, Kelly Brogan, an amazing innovator, pioneer in the space of health and wellness, wrote a book called Own Yourself. And it's all about this, which is that the medical system wants to really pull you out of the frame of your life where you're in control. They want you to feel dependent. They want you to be afraid. And this is the subtext of medicine, because on the outside, it's so about saving lives and it's about a noble pursuit of the greater good, helping the greater good. But the subtext is obvious, never more now than in previous eras where we're seeing this COVID-19 scenario span the entire world, like a new geopolitical or global governance structure. That's what's being laid down, those tracks. The way to take your power back is to develop a deep understanding of the brilliant, innate, regenerative capacities of your own incredible body. So this is it. I mean, Dr. Melissa Sell, she's really remarkable. She is an advocate of German New Medicine, which looks at disease through a very different perspective than conventional Western medicine, which is that there are conflicts, psycho-spiritual, emotional conflicts that express themselves in biological form. So when we see disease in biological form, there's usually a complex story behind that. And there's a certain type of survival response and adaptation that occurs so that the very symptoms of disease are actually the conflict healing itself. So it's a very different way of looking at it versus if you have a symptom in the conventional system, you're afraid of it and you want to treat it. In fact, you want to suppress it. You want to usually take a chemical, patented drug and suppress the symptom. And of course, we all know where that leads, which is driving the disease deeper into the system and it pops up even worse. So this is a great quote. It gives context to what, my book is really about, which is about empowering people to have the intellectual tools and the practical tools they need to take full control of their health. That's the basis of the advocacy. And, I want people to understand that there's very basic principles we're looking at in this book. This is a great quote by my beloved favorite poet, Walt Whitman. The smallest sprout shows there really is no death. And if ever there was, it led forward life and does not wait at the end to arrest it. This is a very beautiful, powerful quote, and it speaks to something that I talk about in Regenerate, which is the immortality that is actually within our bodies expressed in what are known as the germline cells. This is a special group of regenerating cells that are technically immortal because they come from a near infinite number of replications going back to, and this is conventional science, 3.4 billion years ago to the last universal common ancestor cell. That cell is actually present genetically in all living things today. So we know all the cells of all living things today, plant, animal, fungi, they all come from this original protocell. And it reflects the reality is that all of us have this spark of immortality latent within our body. And there's a regenerative capacity that can be accessed and understood even in some of the most feared conditions of our time, like cancer. That is the condition, right, that above all others strikes mortal fear into the heart of men and women. And this is actually an example of the body taking an immortal regenerative power and trying to survive circumstances that are extremely unnatural. Okay, if you think about all the hundreds of thousands of novel new petrochemical toxicants we're exposed to daily, or you think about all of the non-native electromagnetic frequencies that we're exposed to daily, or all the synthetic foods, or geoengineering fallout, or radionuclides from nuclear power. When you think about all those things that our body has to now navigate around, cancer actually recruits some of the same stem cells that are used in healing any other condition or insult in the body. So when you look at cancer from the perspective of compassion, which is that some of the cells in our body are doing their best they can to regenerate, but then they go awry due to the fact that conditions on in the environment don't change. That is the origin of cancer from one of the perspectives in the book. Now, I cover a wide range of different perspectives, but they all speak to the reality, which is that you are ultimately the master of your own health destiny. And a lot of the science that's accumulated shows you that. So needless to say, the book is available for a short time only, thanks to Hay House. I love the way that they're willing to just disseminate this as widely as possible, as affordably as possible through all the major online book vendors. That would include Apple, Barnes & Noble, of course, Amazon. And then you have this really wonderful bookseller, and it's called IndieBound. Here you go. On GreenMedInfo, you can click any of the links. And what it enables you to do is look up in your own zip code, for example, a local purveyor of the book, and you can support them. Because in this day and age, we all know if you go buy it online, the local business owner isn't actually benefiting. So IndieBound is a great way to access this book. So once again, I just wanted to get the word out. This book is available for a short time only. I would love for you to have a copy so that you can also join me in working towards creating a more beautiful world that won't necessarily fight against the old order, but create this new beautiful world that we can inhabit through our choices, our daily practices, and just through spreading the word, because a lot of this information isn't going to get into a doctor's office anytime soon. That's why I wrote the book. There's a delay that I estimate is about 40 years between the actual research emerging, validating some new amazing insight about our body and healing, and then it going into medical books, then going into institutions of learning, and then finally going into standard of care. It might take 40 years. So why don't we just get around that when we need the information here and now and start applying it in our daily lives? And I'll be doing more of that in the future. You'll see a lot of the COVID-19 crisis has pulled us in all these different directions, myself included. But what I really want to do is get back to these core principles. They're not mine. They're actually as old as time itself. Go back to Hippocrates or even more ancient traditions. And it's all about the most basic of all things: clean water, clean air, intentional movement, grounding, eating foods that were designed, to optimize the wellness and resilience pathways in your body. It's very simple. Even things like fasting. It could be mono diet of eating an apple. That one step, replacing a meal or two a day for in a week period, that can go huge way forward in your health and wellness goals. So anyway, I hope that this has been helpful, and I look forward to dialoguing with you and sharing a lot of what is still in the book that I haven't had a lot of time yet to get out there, but this is going to be my first attempt at doing that. All right, I hope you can join me with this, and thanks again for following my work.